This is the Take a Step podcast where we are building the next generation of professional leaders. My guest today is Esteban Alarcon. Man, looking forward to an exciting conversation of just diving into the mindset behind, building a business from the ground up, the faith that's required from that, the discipline and the regiment that's required from that. So happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you, brother. I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, I'd love to get it kicked off by turning it over to you and just hearing how you would introduce yourself, however you think it makes sense.
Sure, man. All right. Well, as we might know, I'm Esteban. I was born here in Atlanta, son of two Colombian immigrants. Kind of a rootin' tootin' Catholic, and always had
I laugh because I just haven't gotten to know you over the last year or so that I love that you are just like forthcoming with that.
Hey, brother. I mean, if it's the thing I'll die for, I might as well.
Let's go.
Gonna mention it. And really, I think like a lot of young men these days, I just always had that fire in my belly to dive into entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes for the wrong reasons, hopefully now for the right ones. And so with that, I graduated from UGA 2023.
Go Dogs, baby.
Go Dogs. Was swinging at entrepreneurship since I was 16. Hitting my head against a brick wall. And then finally, by the grace of God, I started a roofing company about 2 years ago with my good friend Bailey Dunk. And we're going strong.
I love it, man. What were some of the businesses before roofing?
Oh, man. As a teenager, the typical ones, lawn care, lawn maintenance, stuff like that. In college, I met this homeless guy that was selling art to survive. So I would start flipping his art to college students. We would split the profits. Kind of odd jobs on the side. Got into the NFT space like everyone and their grandma. The first time I really turned a proper profit was actually selling salsa.
Okay.
Yeah, just selling my mom's,
What, to grocers?
No, to people in college.
Like door to door?
Mainly, I started through my personal network, and then it just referral base grew. And so I grew up in a big suburban community. Okay. And so we penetrated that, and it did well. We got on the newspaper, Kennesaw and everything. And then I just convinced my professors in college to let me get in front of the lecture hall of like 300 students and just start pitching my salsa. And so I got some good sales flow there.
They know if a Colombian's pitching salsa, it's got to be good.
Yeah, man, it's got to be good. It's got to be good. So that was fun. And then commercial real estate, raising money for to buy apartment complexes. That was a really great spiritual experience because I just got completely pummeled, man. Good old punch to the mouth.
Yeah.
Lost my shirt and brought me to my knees, to the feet of the Lord, finally. And then through some providence, I was able to found the roofing company.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah. So it sounds like from an early age, you knew entrepreneurship was your path.
Yeah.
Okay. Because for me, I look back and I think I didn't really have an understanding as far as what was possible through entrepreneurship, just because it wasn't a lifestyle I was exposed to. Like I was brought up in my family, and then in a lot of my friends' families, like corporate America was the structure, the security, the safest play, the great growth trajectory. It just seemed like the safe path. And then I look back and I see a lot of different entrepreneurial tendencies that I had that I didn't really realize was a path for me until I went through almost 4 years of corporate America for myself to realize this makes me want to shoot myself. Like, this is terrible. But a lot of people need that. A lot of people need that structure, and I get that. But for me, I love hearing people that they were in constant pursuit from a young age when it comes to entrepreneurship. So what led to roofing?
Well, roofing, brother, I couldn't tell you, man. You might have to ask God for that one, because I mean, there was no way I would have expected to be in roofing. I mean, and to qualify the question that you originally asked, since I was 14 till the time I was 20 years old, I was dead set on oral surgery. Actually, I was applying to dental schools.
Okay.
But my affinity was always for a business oriented end game.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, and what was the original question you asked just now?
I was basically just elaborating on the fact that like you knew like all the entrepreneurial.
Oh yeah, why roofing?
Yeah, why roofing?
No, really, it was just just an opportunity. I had, like I said, I went all in into a deal in real estate, didn't go well. While I was kind of recouping, I reconnected with Bailey, who we hadn't really, through God's providence. I just saw him in a place that I never would have been. And he was a general manager at a smaller roofing shop in Metro Atlanta. And I just saw kind of an X factor in him. I'd never considered having a business partner, but there was just a real character about him, and a fire in his belly, and a love for the Lord that I knew you couldn't replicate or teach. And really just, I wanted to frankly capitalize on it. I was like, okay, can we do something here?
Yeah.
And so I brought him under my wing to start doing the real estate stuff. And in passing, we would talk about roofing, talk about the money that can be made, the margins, the scalability, and also the toxicity that is so prevalent in roofing culture through for a variety of reasons. And I was like, all right, man, well, let's give that a shot.
Yeah.
Let's try to do roofing in a different way that gives young men a platform to fulfill their potential.
Yeah.
And let's just go as big as we can.
How long has it been since y'all launched?
Started in October of 24.
Okay. How has has it been what you expected? Has there been some curveballs thrown at you?
No, definitely not what I expected. I always say that God's favorite joke is our plan. No, man. I mean,
I love that.
Yeah, it's real.
I want to talk about that for just a second.
Let's go.
Before you move on. God's
favorite joke is our plan.
Is our plan. I have a kind of an insight that I walk people through when people feel stuck, trying to find clarity, trying to find what their next step is. Most people feel like they have to have the perfect plan in order to start.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll usually say, A, you won't know the perfect plan until you do start. B, the idea of a perfect plan is a pretty ridiculous thing to think about, because when's the last time someone made a plan start to finish and it worked exactly right? Like, very rarely, if ever, does that even happen. Because when you make a business plan, let's say if you want to start a business and it's, you haven't jumped into it yet, there's going to be things that come up that are unexpected. So why do you feel like you need to have every step of the way mapped out before you even start, when there's no such thing as a plan that was created that works every single step of the way to perfection?
I think the answer to that is fear.
Exactly.
And I think I come to that answer so quickly because that was what I was dealing with. Mm-hmm. A buddy of mine put it perfectly in a way that shook me to my core. Over preparedness it was cowardice disguised as over preparedness. And that was me for a little while.
That's so powerful.
It felt productive. I was stroking my ego whenever I would have a ABC XYZ plan every step of the way. And not only is that just not compatible with the way reality works, it pushes God out of the picture. It pushes his providence out of the picture, because the beautiful thing about our Lord is that he is so gentle that he is not going to impose his love, his will, his providence on us. I would say one of my favorite stories of the Bible is the burning bush. Did he throw the burning bush at Moses like a fireball? No, man. It was caught him in the corner of his eye, out in the distance on the top of a mountain. Gives me chills just talking about it.
Yeah.
And Moses had to take it upon himself to humble himself, to go and climb that mountain and to approach and to investigate, what is this? And going back to your point, is there's really, if you dig deep enough in that desire to just plan and strategize and analyze and think, what if this, what if that, really what is there is fear and pride. Something I started to think about whenever I first embarked on the journey was free solo climbers. Those guys that mount these 1,000-foot peaks on the side of stone walls that are like this with no rope, right? One step and it's game over. One misstep, it's game over. And how do they map their courses? Because that's what we're doing, Josh, is you as well. You have your own entrepreneurial endeavors. We're at base camp, right? Yeah. Everyone else is at base camp here with us. But we can't keep our eyes off of that peak, man.
Yep.
It just drives us crazy. Other people, they're like, oh, that's a nice peak. Maybe one day, maybe. But no, man, that keeps us up at night.
Yeah.
And so finally we're like, okay, we're going to just start taking some steps toward that peak. And so going back to it, how do free solo climbers map their courses? If you start watching these documentaries about them, it videos them. They're at the base of this mountain. They're looking up. They're like, okay, I'm probably just going to hit this corner, go around there a little bit, go up, jump over this crevice, and then, right, they're not mapping out every single
where their foot, every foothold,
right, every single step, every single hand, just some general milestones.
Yeah.
And then they're off.
Yeah.
They put their chalk in their pocket and they're off.
Dude, there's so many things I want to go back to. I'm just going to go down a list. One, everyone makes decisions from one of two places, faith or fear. Mm-hmm. Fear keeps you stuck. Faith allows you to move forward, knowing that I don't have to have the perfect plan. I have faith in God's providence. Mm-hmm. Proverbs 16:9, the heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Mm-hmm. That is like exactly what you're just talking about with the free solo climbers. It's like, yeah, I can have my general plan. And I love that it speaks to the importance of man having a plan.
Yes.
Like you don't go through life unintentionally.
Aimless. No.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be intentional about what you're doing and be proactive, not reactive. But just because you have a plan, just because you have an idea, doesn't mean it's going to work exactly the way you want or the way you have planned out, because the Lord's going to be the one that establishes the steps. We have a concept we talk about a lot at Take a Step called Know the Source, really recognizing that you control the inputs and God controls the outputs. You have complete control over the actions you take, but just because you take certain actions doesn't guarantee you a certain result. Mm-hmm. Because the outcome is always left up to God. And I think a lot of people sit in a place of fear for so long because they feel like they have to control the outcomes in their life. And once you can release yourself, relinquish that fear, relinquish the need to control the outcomes in your life, man, there's a sense of freedom there, because it allows you to actually go out and live and take the actions that are actually going to produce the results that you most likely want. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Action. That's the antidote. The antidote to fear is action.
Yeah.
The antidote to despair is action. Because that's the ultimate agenda of the enemy, is to freeze us in despair, kind of like Medusa, just kind of turning us into a body of concrete that doesn't move. It's action. That's where we discover God's providence. Mm-hmm. I wanted to bring this up. I was thinking about this on the car right here. I think one of the scriptures that is most impactful to me is Matthew 7. Is it? It's seek and you will find, knock and it shall be open.
Keep knocking, keep seeking.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so what that lays out, I think, is some kind of deal here. All right, some kind of proposal. God saying, listen, man, if you do this, then this will happen. Mm. If you knock, then it'll be open. He's not saying it'll be opened. He's saying if, then.
Yep.
And so that begs the question: what is it? What is it to knock? What is it to seek? What is it to ask?
Yep.
And that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But all to say is that yes, like for all of us, either here now we have our next milestones that we want to go after, or even if you haven't started yet, the only thing that you need is just a bite-size action item.
Yeah.
That's all you need. And that's all you'll ever need, actually. Because that's how I have found, and let me know if you want to get into the concrete or the narrative and about the company itself, but I don't want to get too abstract. But I think the way I have learned to interact with God's providence is by just asking for the next step.
Yep.
I just point, I'm like, Lord, this is where I want to go. And please purify my heart, my soul, my mind, so that the directions I point in are likely to be aligned with your will, right? And also, little tangent here, like purification is very important. Purification is extremely important, because what entrepreneurship is so much of is just decision making.
So what do you mean by purification?
Purification is removing all of the gunk from the windshield, the vanity, the lust, the pride, the envy, all these things that skew your judgment for whatever reason. You know, are you building a company because you want to flex a Ferrari at your high school graduate? You know, what is it called whenever people get together at the,
oh my gosh, reunion,
yeah. Right? Is it because, you know, you hate your dad and you want to show him, like, or is it because you want to give your wife a good life?
Yeah.
Or is it because you want to be able to do 7-figure charity projects?
Yeah.
And so whenever you start to purify yourself and ask God to help you purify yourself from all the way from abstaining from, you know, vulgar language to abstaining from lustful sin to the little things and the big things, that allows your decision-making mechanism to be more aligned with his will.
Yep.
And then you can point at a direction and start moving towards it. And wouldn't it be nice if the direction you're moving toward is already pretty much the direction that God wants you to move in?
Mm-hmm.
Makes things much easier, makes it much easier to tap into his providence.
For sure.
And so with that said, how I have found that I can interact with his providence and kind of ride it like a wave, if you will, is I point in the direction I want to go. And I pray that I'm pointing there because that's what I believe that God's will is. And then I just ask for the next step.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the next big deliverable I need here?
Mm-hmm.
Just get that done. The next will be, you know, the next we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that these deliverables, they can be broken up. So just keep breaking it up until it's an action item that you can digest and you can actually execute on, that you can get over your fear with and just do.
Yeah.
And man, the ecstasy that you feel once it's done.
Yeah, man.
You know?
I this speaks to a topic that I'm so passionate about. I think as a society, as a generation, we have painted success to be this universal definition of an image or of the status, or like when you look at social media is the most obvious like thing to point to in this, but when you look at like success symbols on what people are posting about their life and their achievements, it makes it seem like that peak you were talking about with the free solo climbers, mm-hmm. that peak is success. Mm-hmm. That couldn't be further from the truth. Mm-hmm. I think my view is that success is less about a destination and more about a process. Mm-hmm. If you can fall in love with what you get to do on a daily basis in pursuit of that, and in pursuit of that destination, that's success for me. Because mm-hmm. if you know that what you are doing is in pursuit of what you feel like God has called you to do, you are submitting to him and not doing it for the right reasons, not serving your own kingdom, but being a good steward of what he's entrusted you with, both your time, your talent, your treasures, the opportunities you have available to you. If those are being done out of an act of stewardship and you are fulfilled in what you get to do on a daily basis, you're living a successful life right now. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
I do. I have a hard time with the kind of adage of fall in love with the process. And I'm glad that you qualified it. Mm-hmm. Fall in love with the process because it's getting you closer to the destination that is glorifying God. Mm. Because really, I would say the majority of the stuff, especially we're still in the thick of it. When it comes to building a company, wearing a lot of hats, it's very difficult. It's very grueling. It's very boring at times. So when I'm in the thick of it, man, I'm not like, oh, this is great. Yeah, I love it. But whenever I do see that my sales rep is making progress, and I'm able to step back and see that, okay, all of this hard time that went into building this training program is helping this man be more effective at his job. That is gratifying. Yeah. And that gratification is ultimately informed by my goal of getting to heaven and helping other people get to heaven and having fun on the way. Yeah.
Here's the key, and you've heard me talk about this before. The key point there is there's alignment. Mm-hmm. There's alignment. Like, yes, not every single action you take on a daily basis is like going to jack you up and make you passionate, mm-hmm. but you know it's a stepping stone mm-hmm. in that's required to get to the destination that you know you want to get to. Yes. but you're not placing your fulfillment in when and if I get to this destination, I'm going to be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
You know that like, hey, it's the daily pursuit of taking those consistent steps over time.
Yes.
So
and that's not only a spiritual and pragmatic truth. There's actually a neurochemical truth in there as well.
Okay.
And I only kind of learned this little tidbit because it was helpful to me at a certain point in my life. But essentially, dopamine regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Huberman,
Yep,
great guy. Not that I know, but he's awesome. But he was talking about dopamine regulation. Jordan Peterson talks about this as well, and how it relates to goal setting and execution. And so one of the core,
I've heard this. I love this.
It's great, and I needed it because I was struggling with dopamine regulation, as many of us do.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many.
Get your quick hits everywhere.
Yeah, quick hits, man, just fries your dopamine threshold. Anyways, and so one of the core functionalities of dopamine is to reward you whenever you make progress towards a goal that you set for yourself. And the bigger the goal, the bigger the dopamine hit. And what dopamine is there to do is not only to make you feel good, although it does, so that it can reward you and kind of encourage you to do that again, do that behavior again, but also what dopamine does is it solidifies neural pathways that you're building. That's how you build out these literal new cellular highways in your brain that you're developing as you work towards that goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so say it's just going back, roofing sales, like it's memorizing a script. And every time you get another chunk of the script memorized, you're getting a little dopamine hit. And not only is that dopamine hit saying, hey, do this behavior again, because it's going to get you closer to getting the salary so that you can give your wife the life, there's not only that reward mechanism, but the dopamine is also reinforcing the neural pathway that is helping you memorize that script. And so how do you protect and build up this goal setting and goal execution system? It's purification.
Yeah,
it's going back to purification, and in this case, avoid synthetic cheap dopamine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing I've heard him talk about on that topic as well that I love is there are higher amounts of dopamine that is released in progress than an achievement.
Yes.
So it's the anticipation and excitement of the climb, of continuing to get closer and closer to that destination, rather than you reach the destination and there's almost this dopamine that's released and then drained because it's like, well, now what?
Yeah, now what?
And I think that's where you see a lot of highly successful entrepreneurs fall into depression, fall into drug use to try to cope with that, because they've told themselves over the course of their life and over the course of their business journey that once I get to this point, then that's when I'm going to make it. That's when I'll be fulfilled. And then they get there and there's like, what now? Well, it's because we're wired to love the pursuit more than we love the destination. Hormozy has a great quote. He says, everyone wants the view, but no one wants the climb.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like everyone thinks that the view is going to fulfill them, but it's why the view is so amazing is because of what they had to go through to get that view. So yeah, I love that. Speaking of like what people had to go through, what are some of the challenges that you've seen since launching in 24? What are some of the things that maybe came up over the course of the past 2 years in your business journey, whether if it was business, whether if it was things that rippled into your personal life? Like, what are some of the things that as an entrepreneur are just part of the game?
I would say one thing is stress tolerance and stress mitigation. And there are multiple ways that I had to learn how to manage my stress and to manage the pressure of it all. Because I thought that in my hubris, the stress would be mitigated by just working more. And that can be a solution, because stress can come from things that need to be done that you are not doing. That's one of Jeff Bezos' definitions of stress. But I was abandoning certain stabilizing forces in my life, like a devoted religious discipline,
Mm-hmm.
a a exercise regimen, quality time with people I loved. And I was getting obsessed with this hustle culture type of narrative of like
Yeah.
grind, grind, grind to the bone, sacrifice everything else, and then recoup your losses when you make your money. And I started to miss out on some very precious moments with family, with my now fiance. I started to be more susceptible to bad habits in my personal life, um, because I was just working myself to the bone. And not only was it not sustainable, even if it was quote unquote sustainable, like even if it would get me to that X net worth or whatever in whatever timeline I wanted, like, is it worth it?
Mm.
Is it worth it to miss 5 years with your parents when they're healthy in exchange for an extra 10 million or whatever your
Yeah.
number is? And I don't know. I don't think so anymore, man. Um, and so there was that stress tolerance, and also just really not having faith in God's providence for my business,
Yeah.
because and that just had to do with like reconciling my ambition with my faith, and like how can this insatiable professional ambition be compatible with the humble, meek life that we're called to as a Christian?
Mm-hmm.
That was hard for me. Um, and so of course, like I had faith that, in the salvation through Christ and all of that, but I did not necessarily have faith that Christ wanted me to build a business
Yeah.
and to be successful. And I think part of that, was just how I had gotten started, because how I had gotten started was largely through vanity. That those were one of my main fuels,
Okay.
right? And it was through some arduous ordeals that the Lord, by my request, pruned me and stripped that from me, in really painful ways, stripped out those desires to indulge in vanity and to
Mm-hmm.
to have worldly goals. And once I was able to have peace and have a real yearning for His will, even if it went against mine, that's when I was able to have peace that, oh, His will can manifest in this business.
Mm.
I can glorify Him by making a very successful, profitable, large business that can still be compatible with the will of the Lord. And I just need to be a vessel for Him, so that can happen, so that this business can be built for Him.
Yeah.
And so that's just to simplify, just to kind of distill what I'm trying to say, is that like I was just having a hard time figuring out, does God actually want this from me, or does He want me to go be a monk in the mountains?
Hmm.
But I couldn't reconcile why He would give me this fire in my belly.
Yeah.
Until I realized, okay, maybe this is here for a reason.
Yeah. So as you're continuing to build it, how do you balance that thought process behind like, hey, I have these metrics that I want to hit for the business, because that's what the business needs, and that's the vision that we have. Like, how do you balance the practical, tactical growth from a business perspective versus submitting to the will that God has for the business?
Charity.
Okay.
That's one just kind of practical thing, and surrounding myself with successful businessmen who change lives with the wealth that they built.
Mm.
That was something that really helped in doing what you're saying, is like reconciling.
Mm.
Um, I joined, by God's beautiful providence, was invited to be a part of this Catholic Business Association with these big steppers that I never would have thought I would get to be in the same room as. And what astounded me was the humility and generosity that these men who built these empires had.
Yeah.
and the impact that they were making, the projects they were working on. So that gave me hope. So, okay, like, you can be a godly man and be very wealthy. That was just to see that manifest in front of me was very hopeful for me. And so that's one thing. And also just us getting to engage in charitable projects, because and I hesitate here. I have trouble talking about this.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that I am not talking about it for vain reasons. But it is sincerely something that has helped me get through it, is getting to see the dollars that we've earned go towards something that does nothing other than help someone else. Even in times when we couldn't really afford it, like we stretched ourselves a little bit to deliver those charitable projects. And there were little epiphany moments when I saw it all come together, saw the little charity project come together, and I was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the objective. The business is just a tool for this. And that gave me the clarity that I needed to understand how God's will can work through a big, successful, profitable business.
Yeah. I love that, man. Yeah, it's cool when you have those moments where you realize, where it's like, I call them God affirmations, where it's like, this is what I've called you to do. And it sounds like you're experiencing that. And yeah, I love being able to find reasons outside of the business itself to continue to build and continue to provide that drive, because like we can get caught up in the monotony of what we do on a daily basis. But when you see the bigger purpose, when you see the dots connect, it's a really cool feeling that it's hard to explain. I'd love to ask you this question. What if you look at your life over the course of the next 10 years, if you were to say that you're living a successful life 10 years from now, what would have to be true? What's true? Like, what, in other words, like, what does success look like for you?
Well, my dad has really embodied it well. He's shown me that success is a symphony, right? It's not just success in one domain. It's not just high caliber execution in one domain.
Yeah.
He always said, like, success at the office doesn't make up for failure at home. And I remember me and my cousins were sitting around a fire with my dad, and he's been with the same company for 30 years, since he was 22 years old, and climbed the ranks. Didn't even climb the ranks, actually. He just became a killer salesman. And so he's been a salesman for him for 30 years and top rep in the country for the past 10. And so like he did good. And so my cousins asked him, all the young guys, like, Juan, Uncle Juan, like, what's the secret to success? How do you become the best sales? He's like, yeah, you do it by not prioritizing it. And he's like, my objective is to get to heaven, and then get my wife to heaven, and then get my kids to heaven, and then get my friends to heaven. And after that, to be a good steward of the business.
Yeah.
It's fifth place. And so going back to your question, it's like, what would my life need to look like? I would say in 10 years, I would need to feel a strong, full force inertia towards the gates of heaven. And I know it sounds romantic, but I just mean even in the daily. Like, are all of my daily habits and the people around me all aimed towards that one direction? And you can look at each habit in your life and answer that question pretty easily, and each person in your life and answer that question pretty easily. So there's that, right? Like, is everything pointing in this one orienting direction? And then after, man, it's just a good marriage with my beautiful wife.
Yeah.
Just because what would all this money be for?
Exactly.
What would it all be for? And And so, yeah, just getting to look forward to come home, I would say that's a big thing. Not having to worry about money at all. And no one I love having to worry about money at all. Um, ever. Yeah. I just, no need for that.
Yeah.
No need for, like, God has given me um, the capacity to get us out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So why would we suffer unnecessarily?
Yeah.
In that domain? And then more practically, dude, I want a homestead. I want some livestock, some land.
Go.
You know, want a big old wall around it. Everyone's welcome, but just, you can knock first.
Just knock and be accepted in.
Yeah. But yeah, and then, dude, stuff like this, just hanging out with like you and like people I like.
Yeah.
That's really the pleasure of life, man. For me, is just like I don't really have hobbies. I don't.
Yeah.
Whenever I have free time, I just like to hang out with people I like.
Yeah.
So that's it. God willing, 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So literally, it's funny. Everything you said is there's like no vanity metrics behind any of that. It's like,
I hope not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's all the life that you like. None of that was a destination. All of that was very focused on like things you get to experience on a day-to-day day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's who
life.
I get to hang out with today. My family's excited for me to come home today. They don't have to worry about money today.
Yeah.
Me and my wife have a great relationship today. I love the work I get to do today. Like all of that is very focused on like what you get to do on a daily basis. And I keep going back to the analogy you gave about the free solo climbers focusing on the peak. Mm-hmm. It's like, or they don't like right. The last thing, like, sure, they see it off in the distance.
That's the last thing. Once they're on the wall, that's the last thing they're thinking about.
Exactly. And yeah, I love that you give that example. As a lot of people that are probably listening to the conversation here, and something that I've grown to know about you is you have this sense of discipline, the sense of, you're very regimented in your approach. And I'm a firm believer in the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And I see that in your life. I see that in your business. I see that in your communication style. Where does that come from?
Definitely my upbringing. Also kind of a deep understanding of how weak I am. And how much I need regimen.
It's an interesting point, because I feel like a lot of people think I got to be strong in order to be disciplined.
Yeah, man. I mean, you can.
I view it the opposite, honestly.
Yeah, it is kind of counterintuitive, I guess, but the way that you channel God's strength, I have found, is by coming to grips with your own weakness. But going back to your question of like, what was the original question exactly?
Where does that sense of regiment come from?
Where does it come from? Yeah, my upbringing. My parents, they kept it simple, but they were very convicted in the things that they did keep. They were not control, maniacs by any means, but the principles of the household that were there were not to be messed with. And if you did mess with them, you would get hit. Either literally or figuratively. And now all of their kids are adults, so child services can't come after them. But yeah, and that goes back generations for my family. So that was definitely a big thing. And then also my Catholic faith. If there's one complaint people have about Catholics, is that we're too structured, we're too strict, there's too many lines,
legalism,
too many rules.
Baby.
The what?
Legalism.
Yeah, right. Legalism. Yeah, that's what my lovely non-denominational partner buddy loves. Old Bailey loves to throw at me as legalism, bro. Yeah, I hear you. And that's what I need, man. I need the structure. I need the lines. And the way that this priest put it is like, we are children playing on a playground, and the playground is an island. And if you see a kid fall off the side of the island, you're like, dang, I don't want to play anymore. Like, I'm terrified. Like, what if I fall too? But by having these guidelines that have been instituted by an authority that I believe in, now I can trust, like, okay, as long as I stay in between these guidelines, everything's gravy. Like, everything's gonna be fine. Just stay in between these, stay in this regimen. And so going back to is like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's very real. And the reason I try to do things that I don't like to do, the reason I get up early in the morning, the reason I exercise and go on runs, I don't enjoy it, is because it will make me more effective at doing hard things in other domains of my life. That's really it. And that's why I try to abstain from kind of unintentional pleasures, like a sugar binge here, a death scroll there, like just sleeping in on a weekday. Like that's just unintentional, and that will just kind of atrophy the muscle of willpower. It's willpower
for sure. Yeah, I think the ability to do hard things is a muscle that you train.
Yeah, it makes you more effective.
Do you feel like at this point, that sense of discipline, that sense of regiment, do you feel like it's forced at this point, or do you feel like it's just become your natural rhythm?
I wish I could confidently say that it's my natural rhythm, but with the nature of building a business, just as soon as you think it's hard, it's only going to get harder. And so the pressure just gets heavier, and that pressure is just constantly looking for quick releases, quick little numbing escapism in your life. And so I have found that if I don't keep a close eye on these disciplined regimens that kind of keep me oriented in my life, my exercise, avoiding quick pleasures, going to mass every day, just waking up early. Like, if I don't stay on top of that, I will fall. I will fall, and I do fall sometimes. And because I sometimes just the pressure, it just crushes me.
Yeah,
really. And then I fall and I come back to the Lord. I'm like, Lord, I fell again. He's like, all right, dude. Like, he just wipes off my back. He's like, well, just go again.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm like, all right. And so, no, like, I wish I could say I'm a David Goggins, but I'm not, man. But going back to, one of our first conversations ever, like you were just talking about keeping it simple.
Yeah.
And that's definitely been kind of an evolution, a theme of the evolution of my discipline.
Good.
Because my discipline used to be super, quote unquote, sexy, right? It was like that ideal influencer,
that morning routine that has 20 steps, that everything looks perfect. Yeah.
And like getting up, I mean, I was getting up at 4:30 every day, gym, mass, writing, reading, journaling, whatever, counting my calories. But I really wasn't building a successful business at the time. I was trying to. I was just kind of like just running all over the place trying to figure it out, but there wasn't much pressure in that domain. But once the pressure actually started to get real, then all that fragile little regimen that was so self-serving for me and for my ego just started to fall apart.
Yep.
And then I needed to reassess. I'm like, okay, I do not have the willpower I thought I had. So of this little willpower that I have left, where should I allocate that? Well, what is the most important thing in one's life? Well, it's the Lord. Okay, so I need to allocate my discipline towards the Lord. And then everything else should be fine. Yeah. And so once I started, and so that was, for me, that was just daily mass, daily rosary. Rosary is like a 20, 25-minute prayer system. And so once I started to allocate my discipline there, I was like, okay, now that I've got this kind of brick there, this can't move. That's the core.
It's the foundation.
Right. Then I can, health, right, and fitness. And then the business. And I keep those. So I only have like 3 or 4 real routines that I just hold on to for dear life.
Yeah, I like that you tie it back to like keeping it simple, because in my opinion, when you look at the personal development space, the goal setting space, I think there are so many systems and processes out there that are so like, there's so many details, there's so many features, there's so many components to what it means to like set this plan, to where it almost eliminates the one thing that's actually going to generate the results, and that's the actions that you take, like we were talking about earlier. It's like you were saying with the morning routine. I think so many people have a a routine because it builds their ego. It makes them feel good about themselves, that they're productive because they have a lot that they did. But going back to what we were talking about with alignment, is it actually aligned with where you're trying to go, or is it just having tasks to knock off the schedule for the day so you can look back at the end of the day and be like, look how productive I was today.
And hopefully someone asks you that weekend, what is your discipline regimen, bro?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the culmination of it all.
Yeah, man.
And I'm going back to it, like this is something that will just kind of has helped me calibrate my discipline and regimens, is just the question, why am I doing this? Why am I getting up early to go to mass? Why am I going on a run that I don't want to go on? Why am I binging on sugar?
Yeah.
And why am I not when I'm not? And you need to start finding a way to sincerely make the answer to all of those why am I God oriented, and then it'll stick. And then it'll stick.
Yeah. If you can have a good answer that you believe in when it comes to why you're doing anything, typically you're going to be in a good spot, because who's going to answer, why did I sit here for the past hour and scroll on TikTok?
Right.
Well, I was trying to find.
I love Jesus.
Yeah, it was all pastors and business content. Okay. Yeah. What are you? But what are you actually doing with? Was it just a dopamine hit to make you feel productive because you heard a bunch of people give good business advice, but you're not going to do anything with it? Yeah. I think that's where a lot of people find themselves. Man, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I love asking people before, just as a last question, because it's so online with what we do here at Take a Step, is, there are a lot of people out there that feel stuck in a life where they just kind of wake up every day and live in passivity, where they're just kind of going through the motions, but they know that there's something more that they're capable of. To somebody that's in those shoes where they feel stuck and they're trying to figure out what their next steps are, what would you say to that person?
I would give them the prescription that brought me out of a dark place, which was delivered by Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
Stop doing the things that you know to be wrong.
Sounds too simple.
Dude, most of life is.
Yeah.
Make a list of the things that you know are wrong. We all have a list.
Yeah.
And order it with numbers and just focus on the first one. Eliminate it. Exterminate it.
Yeah.
And then work down that list. Because more likely than not, we're all starting at a negative usually. We're all starting with one step back.
Mm-hmm.
So stop doing the things that you know to be wrong, that are messing with your engine. It's gunk on the windshield. How are you going to get on the road and start driving if your windshield is covered in crap? So that's what I would say, is stop doing things you know to be wrong. Once you have gained progress and knocking down that list, then you can start working on the things that you know to be right, the things that you want to pursue. But if you're feeling stuck, it's probably something that's keeping you stuck there. And so those are the things that need to be eliminated before you start moving forward.
I love that, man. You have great wisdom, and I appreciate you sharing today.
Dude, it's not mine. If it's good, it's not mine.
I love it, man. Well, if people want to follow along, if they want to reach out to you in any way, or if they want to pick your brain on something, or maybe they're looking for a new roof.
Sure, brother.
Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, man. You can find me on LinkedIn, bro. Esteban Alarcon, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll link that down below.
The name will be there. Happy to talk. And then if we can service you with a new roof, it's just firstfruitroofing.com.
Awesome. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the show today. It's been great.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, thanks for listening to another episode of the Take a Step podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a rating on whichever platform you're listening. And always remember, no matter where you are on your growth journey, every mile begins with a step.